Good morning. Can you believe it's just 5 days later and we're full on winter now? That happened. So, update on the mower project. I got back that day and did a little bit of research, and here's what I've determined. This has non-adjustable valves. These Kohler Command series have hydraulic lifters, so that is not my problem. I was able to get it running long enough to do my leaves. I had to do them in the dark, literally the night before the snow came. It wasn't running great, but I was able to get it started. I don't know why it's hard to start. I've got it started by tapping on this, which I believe is the fuel pump, and by tapping on the top of the carburetor. That's what did it. That's what had done it the couple times before. It didn't want to start either. But for whatever reason on Sunday there, when I went to do my leaves 2 weeks ago, it did not want to go. But the snow's here now. The leaves got done. The mower's in the shop. And we're going to try to figure out what's going on with it. I don't know if we'll get it resolved, but I would at least like to know where it's at. So I can put the valve cover back on because we're not doing anything in there. I had read that they're hydraulic. I popped it off just simply to look and make sure that everything is still attached. And everything's in there attached and tight. There's no wiggle in there. So it's not that. We believe it's an air leak. I'm out of carb cleaner, so I can't check it. But we also have this super sticky throttle, which you can see is all it's doing is pushing the cable sheath back and forth. So the cable's seized in there. So that's an issue. The carburetor needs to be redone. And this bearing, and maybe others, but certainly this one on the deck is bad. It's got quite a bit of play in it. I think the one on the bottom is the bad one. The one on the top actually looks pretty good, and you can hear it. So that's for sure on the to-do list. And I'm going to clean the deck right now and see what's going on. I don't think I'm going to bother trying to rebuild the carburetor right now. Maybe I will. I'm going to clean the deck and go from there. See how that goes. So it would seem, moving on, we have two bad bearings, two sets of bad bearings. This one, here it's kind of grindy, it's got a bit of play in it, it's on its way out, and this one. So I'm going to go to the dealer and see if I can't get replacement bearings, or the bearing place and see if I can't get replacement bearings. I'll probably pop them out first, go from there. And yeah, so that'll get the deck sorted out. Then we have to deal with that. Do I take the carburetor apart or not? It's right at the end of the season. I'd hate to have this thing in my shop tying up space for the next couple weeks, but I don't have anything pressing coming in that I know of. Things can always break, but I think what I will do is I will take it apart and have a look. See if maybe there's an obvious problem. Maybe a obviously broken gasket or something. Because I don't have any carb cleaner, so I can't test it the way you normally would. So we will see. Let's have a look in there. Well, my friends, I think for the first time in my life I've heard of these things. I think I've come across the non-serviceable bearing. What a disappointment. So you can see that it's rolled over there. I can't even see the outer race on this side, nor can I see the outer race on this side. And when I look at this pulley, the first thing that jumps out at me is that it's two halves that have been spot welded together, meaning that they probably put the bearing on one side, put the bearing in the other side, and then welded the pulley together. Oh, those sneaky buggers. They build stuff like this. So you know what this means, right? This means a guy can't just go and get a bearing, that a guy has to buy this whole pulley, which means he has to go to Husqvarna and he has to pay whatever it is they demand. And I am just not into that. First thing I'm going to do is find out what it costs, because maybe it's reasonable. You never know, you know. That's $4 worth of bearings in there. So I'm going to take a stab in the dark and guess that this is $100. So I'm going to go to the dealership and find out what this pulley costs and find out if it's serviceable. But I can't, as far as I can tell, that's non-serviceable. I've heard of them. I've never had non-serviceable things. Usually everything I get is to some degree fixable. Well, that's our project for the week. I am going to go to the dealership and report back when I conclude this segment of the video and let you guys know what I find. In the meantime, since now we have non-serviceable parts on the mower deck, I also am somewhat aware that those carburetors are somewhat non-serviceable. Let's take that carburetor apart and see what's going on. Worst case scenario, the whole thing is scrap, I guess. If I can't get it to run right and I can't replace the bearings on the deck, I mean, I can fix this. I could surely, there's many ways a guy can go about dealing with his non-serviceable bearing. Just off the top of my head, looking at this, you can drill out your spot welds, separate your two halves of your pulley, put your new bearings in, go to just any bearing place, and they'll probably have bearings that are the right size. Pop this shaft out of the middle. There's some kind of shaft in there, or bushing or whatever. Pop that out, get your new bearings, put your new bearings in, and then upon reinstallation, a guy could just put it together with nuts and bolts, and then therefore rendering it into the future a serviceable pulley. I think you could do that. Man, what a bummer. That's not cool at all. I hate stuff like this. Oh well, on to the next. Alright, so what I ended up doing was the passage under this, whatever this adjuster is, it's at the very back of the carb. I'm guessing fuel comes through there. It was partially blocked. However, I unblocked it, put it all back together, put it back on, and that did not resolve my problem. I thought I had it for a minute. It was running pretty good, and then it started surging again. That's what it does. It surges. I don't know what the hard to start thing is, because it's been easy to start since I brought it in the shop. Also, the hard to start thing seems to come with time. The longer it sits, the harder it gets to start. So there's that. I have to put the project on hold now because without any carb cleaner, there's really not a lot I can do. I could use brake cleaner, I guess, but carb cleaner is so much better. So I think we're going to go back to the basics, get some carb cleaner, test it for air leaks, see what's going on there, and then go from there. I think that would be the wise thing to do. Good afternoon. Well, I went to the dealer, and lucky me, they had a throttle cable that'll work, because the one I need is discontinued, and it was only 20 bucks. 20 bucks, I was stoked on it. It even came with a new handle and everything. How sweet is that? So we're gonna put that on right now. I don't remember where anything went, now that I think about it. That had to have gone there though. Had to have gone there. Where's that cable go? Let's assume that it goes somewhere. I'll have to adjust that after the fact. Well, would you look at that? This throttle cable's made by Oregon, and that's the part number. So if you have some weird Husqvarna YTH180 42 inch, then that's the one for you. Good afternoon. Well, after a quick trip to the dealer, I was able to get a new pulley. It was $38, and I was willing to pay that price. It was getting close. It was teetering on the edge of prices I'm willing to pay for that. And then the throttle cable was only 20 bucks with the throttle and everything. That was a no-brainer. But I would have changed that pulley. I would have changed the bearings in it, drilled it out. And it's funny, I even mentioned to the guy, I was like, oh, that's cheap enough, I'll do it. I was like, I'll just drill, otherwise I would have just drilled the spot welds out. He's like, and you can rivet them back together and whatever. And I was like, yeah, exactly. So it's running pretty okay now. I'm just going to leave it till spring. I don't have time to deal with it, and quite frankly, I don't have a need for it right now, and I think what I'm going to do this winter is I'm going to keep my eyes peeled for a better unit. See if I can find a cheaper, maybe zero turn or something, because zero turn would really be nice. I don't want to upgrade this mower, and if it runs, it runs, but it's a little lumpy in the idle still, but it's not as bad as it was, and it seems to be starting okay. So maybe I need to rebuild the fuel pump. I don't know. Regardless, there's like 6-8 inches of snow on the ground. There's no... I'm going to procrastinate on this one and push it to the spring. I got done what I need to get done, which is get my leaves done and get it running, and it is running. So we're going to call that good enough for now, and we'll dive into it in the spring when I have to, if I have to. So, have a great day, folks. Show some love to your neglected item, but don't love it too much. You don't want to know you're changing your mind on it. You want to know. You want it to know that it's on the chopping block.